Hello, everybody, and welcome to TableTakes. I hope everyone had a pretty okay week. That's how we can summarize it. Pretty okay. Yeah, and I am joined, of course, by Derek, Christian, and Emma in here for the TableTakes. Yeah, Christian, what have you been up to this glorious week?
Oh man, I made the mistake Monday morning of just looking at Facebook and Twitter like any normal person would do, and like the world was on fire. At least my personal world was on fire. That's how that goes. Everything that I love, gaming and that industry and hobbies in general, wrestling. Man, turns out everybody is terrible. Blocked a couple of cousins on Facebook. And then a couple of other things as well. I was sorry. I've had to kind of redefine what being a Gen Con attendee is for myself. I'm used to having to do all of these things, and now I still have to do them, but completely different. So I've been writing up a plan on how I'm going to do that. I took a shower the other day, and I've been
small victories, man.
Yeah, I haven't had a haircut for several months, and my thinning hair really shows when I've got all these bushy stuff on the side, and everything up top is the same length as when they buzzed it 6 months ago. So I ordered some Rogaine.
Okay, that's one approach.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, that's been my week. Had some deeply personal stuff, and then just the normal wear and tear.
Well, then to jump in on that, just because of you mentioned Gen Con attendees, like honestly, that's been most of my focus the past several weeks is getting prepared for Gen Con online. So like as you mentioned, we have to kind of redefine what it means to go to a convention or be at a convention right now, and we're trying to figure out what that means, both like as a company and individuals and stuff like that. So. I think that I just kind of want to harp out there or remind people about is that this is going to be new for a lot of folks. A lot of people have been playing games online in a variety of ways for a long time. So it's not completely unknown territory. But for a lot of us, we're used to that, and we're not used to doing that at a convention. So, just remember to kind of be open to trying something different. This is your chance to do that. And be patient with yourself and your technology. And the other people that you're playing with, because something is going to go wrong, and you're going to have to pause the game a little bit to figure out why someone's mic no longer it's going to happen. Just accept it now, so that later on you don't get mad. And then
After Effect echo.
Yep. Yeah. And then the final thing to remember is that event registration is going to open on July 13th. So if you are interested in running events at Gen Con Online, then I strongly encourage you to get your events submitted in the system by the end of June if you want to make sure that we have time to process them before registration opens up. We will continue to accept events as long as we have the time to actually review them and take care of them. But if you want to make sure that you're there kind of when the gates open and everyone just floods out and grabs tickets to what they want and initially builds their schedule, then make sure that you kind of set aside some time this weekend to get everything submitted before June already just races past us.
Okay.
All right. So you reminded me of a couple things that I wanted to talk about. If we're feeding into one another here with the Gen Con events. Wasn't going to talk about it because I haven't finished it yet, but for the Ludology podcast that I'm one of the hosts of, we always do a live event at Gen Con. So definitely looking forward to doing a Ludology Gen Con event this year. Figuring out what that's going to look like. I'm looking forward to engaging a lot more with the community around Ludology. We're also working on getting a Facebook group set up for Ludology, so I'm excited to have all those things kind of feed into each other. The other thing I wanted to do is give a shout out to one of the people I'm connected to on Twitter, Our Family Plays Games. This wasn't something that happened to me personally, but they've been blowing up all over Twitter, YouTube, and this morning they were on Good Morning America. with a video clip about board games. So telling, mainstream audiences about how great board games are, how great they are for families, some of their favorite picks. So if you haven't had a chance to check that out yet, you should look up at GMA on Twitter and Our Family Plays Games and find that great clip, because and they're amazing people. The video is very heartwarming. So I was very happy to see that this morning. Something good that happened to me this week.
Nice.
Good things. Let's do
good things. Good things.
All the good things now.
All the things. But yeah, I think for me, I had not much to talk about, except I guess I'm going to be a mogul, or what is it? A monopoly. Who's the monopoly guy? Is he a mogul? There you go. That's the word. I'm gonna be a mogul and start this brand of food-based butt things.
I've been looking at those on Twitter. They are hilarious.
Yeah.
my wife wants some.
I really want your official brand name to be food-based butt things, because that really just gives you a lot of realm to expand into without having to change your branding.
I mean, but Foodie Booties sound better.
No, Foodie Booties is just your first offering. You get what I mean? Like, brought to you by Food-Based Butt Stuff Inc.
I just liked calling them fruit butts.
Fruit
get that too.
Fruit butts.
Does that work?
Foodie Booties. I like Foodie Booties. It
rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah.
It does. But yes, so soon I will make millions upon millions of dollars, and I will have my own booth at Gen Con. Yes.
Yeah.
But after that, we're gonna go ahead. After that catch up, let's go ahead and just jump right into it. Since we are talking about virtual game spaces and how cons are going to be in this virtual space, Derek, isn't there one going on right now?
There is. Virtual Gaming Con is running right now, and it runs through this weekend. And it is a collaboration between Dice Tower and Board Game Geek. So if you're a member of one of those two communities, you probably know kind of what to expect from Virtual Gaming Con. There are a couple hundred scheduled games, I believe, but there's also just lots of channels where people are kind of picking up games and trying things out. The impression that I get, or what I've heard, is that it's a lot of people's first time using a lot of these online tools. So I think this is kind of the stage where people are maybe really getting into it and really playing games online. So if you are also new and you kind of want to learn along with some other people, you might want to go check the event out.
Yeah, it's good practice for Gen Con.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm sure that's probably not their advertising for it. But...
That's our advertising.
It's our advertising.
Come to Gaming Con. It's good practice for Gen Con.
Oh, yeah. Well, besides the moment of laughter here, we do have to take into account that this month or this year has been a very serious and mental taxing toll. Of course, we are still currently going through the Black Lives Matter movement, trying for this humanitarian issue of people who are born like their skin color is you can't choose the color of your skin, and like just the society view of, especially like in the police force system in general, of how the training isn't well enough to handle things, and they need to have change. And also as a society in general, we need to go ahead and stop looking at saying that, because this person is of this ethnicity, then they're automatically deemed bad or good, or vice versa. And on the wave of that, if you guys haven't been there's been a big wave in terms of starting this off in Twitch about a lot of harassment and abuse cases coming out. This thing isn't solely just relating to Twitch. This is a problem that is throughout a lot of various different industries. And we're going to be talking more and getting more into that. It's calling out not just people who are faces, content creators. We also have people behind the scenes, people who make games and things that you love. They're not all good people. And Christian,
really
you want to go ahead?
Well, I mean, I would just say in general, it really does kind of feel like the attention that Black Lives Matter has been drawing, and kind of, I think that a lot of people are, I guess, reaching the end of their patience with a lot of these problems. Yeah. So I feel like people are becoming more willing or almost eager to speak out about other inequities that are, almost universally in just about every industry, hobby, or community has problems like this they need to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important to point out that it's some people looking at this and be like, oh, all of a sudden every person of color, every woman has been harassed. It's like, yeah, we've all been harassed this whole time. It's very difficult to talk about these things. And once some people start speaking out, it's not that there's more abuse than there was in the past. It's just like, hey, it's strength in numbers, right? Like we've seen countless times, example after example, where people are excoriated, where they're thrown to the wolves for talking out. They speak up to someone and it's swept under the rug. And so this is the reason it's coming out now, is not because it wasn't happening before, but because now it's safer in some ways to talk about it.
Yeah, and so we're going to go ahead and go over some cases that are most notable in referring to tabletop industries and tabletop gaming. So Christian, you want to go ahead and kick us off?
Sure. Last week we did a story about Cards Against Humanity. A former employee accused the company of a racial and sexist office culture. We reported on that story. This week, to kind of follow up on it, Max Temkin has stepped down and they have issued a statement. If you want to read it, go ahead. There you go. That's the story.
Yep. I mean, yeah, that just has you can go ahead and make your own judgment on this front, but just have to read and make your own judgment.
Yeah,
by our faces.
Clearly, I feel the way about
there.
I think Polygon has a pretty good overview where they discuss the initial allegations. They have the full statement from Cards Against Humanity, and then they further kind of followed up with a number of the initial victims, as well as some employees that have since left the company, and I think maybe some that are still there, to see how they all feel about the situation too. So if you kind of want a full run through of everything, their article sums it up pretty well.
Yeah, I think it is important to point out, like, a lot of people, very individualistic culture. You as a reader, potentially as a white male, might read this and be like, oh, that's not that bad. I think it is very super important. And even some of the statements that are coming out from different organizations is like, well, here's the actual receipts. It wasn't as bad as everyone was saying, but to the people experiencing this, like, and just time after time, just living in a culture of this, that it is that bad. So I think it's important to make your own judgments in some cases, but also have the empathy to realize that maybe you, like, not being in this situation, that when these people come forward, like, believe women, right? Believe people of color who are coming forward with these stories, and the fact that it's risky to say things too. People say, like, oh, they're throwing this person under the bus, but they're not getting anything out of it, right? So if it's painful enough for them to come forward, give them respect of believing
listening
the bad. Yeah, listen to them.
The good news, this isn't the only story like this, and that's also the bad news.
Yeah. And up next for another thing that happened in the industry and Magic specifically, Magic has cut ties with Noah Bradley, who is a card artist for the game, done a lot of art in the past. They have a link to a statement here that we're going to post in just a second. After several individuals came forward with allegations of harassment against Noah Bradley, MtG released a statement saying that they won't be commissioning any more work from Noah and will pull cards with possible. On Twitter, they mentioned that they have some cards that are in circulation and coming out, but other than that, they are taking steps here to extricate Noah from the artist circuit, as it were. And I think this is a great example. If you look up a little bit of what's happening on Twitter as well, that you can see everything adding up over time to just attitudes. A lot of attitude of entitlement too is what you're seeing in a lot of these individuals, where they have power in the industry, right? They're gods, they're untouchable. And some people, when they get to that stage, use their power to hurt other people. And I think if you just, like, that's one of the things you can take away from this is, like, holding people accountable, even if they are, you know, someone you look up to. If you're an artist, you want to be like that someday. It's important. Like, there's a lot of amazing artists. Like, there's so many amazing people who do art for Magic, or who might in the future do art for Magic. So instead of being beholden to these individuals and saying like, oh, well, they do good art, it's okay. It's like, hey, there's a lot of people who do good art. You know, maybe we can support more of those people, help get more people into the industry and make it better for everyone.
Yeah.
You know, like, part of the reason this is so hard to talk about for me anyway, is that, you know, I've been part of this industry for a really long time. And you know, a few years ago, if you would have asked me, I wouldn't have said this was a problem. And that is completely based on my own ignorance. And that ignorance just helped things along, you know, by not. So yeah, it sucks. All these stories hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and they're heartbreaking. And it, you know, I think kind of a couple of things that Emma has said before. A lot of the incidents that are coming to light now aren't new, and it's not that this is all something that has happened recently. It is a culture that has kind of been in almost every hobby and industry from the beginning, that just was not exposed before unless you were unfortunate enough to suffer from it. Which,
of course, I never
applied. Yeah, because, you know, I'm white. I'm a white dude. You're a white dude. So, you know, we didn't have to bear that burden, which meant that a lot of times we didn't have to pay attention to it. And, you know, that, I guess, lack of interest in kind of upholding our end of the bargain is part of where we are right now. And, you know, to further Emma's point of like, yeah, when you hear that somebody whose work you love is not the kind of person that you want to be around, or that you want people you care about to be around, like, you're going to be sad that their work is lost. Like, they're like, that's okay. That's understandable.
Yeah.
But I think the thing you need to keep in mind is it is a tragedy. Well, I mean, I guess not. Like, you can be sad that you've lost that work, but don't label it as a tragedy, because think about all of the work that we all lost because of the people that they drove away from the industry. Think about all the different stuff we would have seen if we didn't have that kind of culture and we had lots more people coming in and making stuff.
Yeah, my sadness isn't for the things that I have lost. It's for the people that I didn't know were being hurt.
Yeah.
You know, like, how could I have been so blind? I consider myself a smart guy most of the time, mostly a smart ass, but yeah, I didn't want to see it.
Yeah, and I think it's so important now.
And now, I'm glad it's still that we're still making progress forward. It's just,
yeah, I think it's important for people. Like, it is painful not to shy away from that. Like, not to get too bogged down with the shame. You know, if you feel like you haven't seen it, you feel guilty, right? Like, and process those feelings. Like, let the guilt be there, but then kind of let it, like, feel it, go through it, and then kind of don't shy away. Don't say like, I'm not going to look, I'm going to pretend like this isn't happening because it's too painful to do it. If you can't just sit with it and accept it and feel those feelings, then it gets better, right? You're like, okay, I processed that.
I do not have that luxury right now. Like, I think at this point it's time for me to like look inward and see how I have, you know, what I have done to help that culture along, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think, like,
how do I fix that?
Having a balance between having those tough emotions and not letting it shut you down. Because I think a lot of people can get into a place where they're just like, they just sit, they don't move past that, like, having to, because there's a lot of actions you can take right now. And there's a lot of things you can, like, in addition to feeling and processing the pain that we're going through right now, you can sit down, even if you're not ready emotionally right now, you can make lists, you can have thoughts about this. And I think that's really where we're going to make a big changes in the industry is accepting these tough feelings and then thinking about what each of us can do to make positive change.
Yep.
Okay. I think when you do,
I was just gonna say
10 feelings on camera after this.
No. Yeah, but the whole point is that we're trying to get to is that acknowledging there is a problem is good. Now we must move on and look for a brighter future and be excited about the changes that are about to come. Speaking about exciting changes that are about to come, let's go ahead and do a whiplash really quick and do some exciting news. Dragon Magazine just came out with more info and artwork about Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frostmaiden. It's the concept, if I remember pronouncing that right. So basically, let me go ahead and sum it up in the best way possible. Chunky cuteness in a frozen wasteland. Everything is chunky because it's too cold. You go ahead and be in there.
Why do I have a feeling, Banzai, that if I were to pitch you on, okay, here's my concept for the next D&D big adventure, right? We all go to a ski lift in the 80s. And you would be like, yes, let's do that. All the adventurers can bundle up in like ski pants and big parkas.
And colors.
Yeah, you would be all in for that, apparently.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great.
That sounds great.
You heard it here first, folks. The new D&D supplement is really all about the chonk.
It is all about the chonk. But no, just take a look at the links. They're really cute. Just cool artwork in general, and the concepts behind it are really cool. For the example, they have a polar bear themed owl bear. That's and kind of what I think is kind of cute about this is that Chris Perkins loved the look of the cute version of the owl bear more than the serious version. He's like, no. Get cute, please. Keep the derp. Keep the derp. We love the derp. Keep the derp. There's also like a Goliath werebear fisherwoman who is this is gosh darn it, these names. Oyamin Art Talk.
Yeah.
Who will be helping the players through the campaign, and then some of the villains have been released. It's just the art concept is very, very interesting and to like that very snow, almost like Inuit themed, based. And I'm really just excited about this look. Also, there's a sperm whale that you can ride. That is very like almost like a very fantasy steampunk-ish of a submarine.
Wearing like a boat as a hat, basically.
Yeah, boat as a hat, and it's it's a magic sperm whale that talks to people, and that when it blows out its bubble, when you go underwater, it actually encases the riders in it, and you can swim. I don't know what you guys see.
Whale breath the whole way across. It'll be delightful. Thanks, Angajuk. Who can talk? That's cool.
Yeah. So like just looking at these concepts, what are you guys most excited about? I guess I could ask.
You all know about Jeff, right?
Yeah.
Jeffrey Magdalene, our owlbear that we had in my D&D campaign that we adopted.
Who you then promptly left at home because you were too worried about them getting killed in every adventure?
We left them with a guardian, but we're back there now. We're back in the town with the owlbear, and Numi just had a reuniting with Jeff, and it was glorious, and Jeff is lovely, and so yeah.
Emma, eventually you're going to have to let Jeff be their own person. They're going to have to go out in the world and have their own adventures. You can't keep them locked up forever.
I know. I just worry so much about
You can't
her.
protect them from the Frostmaiden, okay?
I just want to protect
the Frostmaiden.
Plus, if you lock them in a dungeon, adventurers will just come and kill them.
Yeah, see?
No,
that's true.
She needs to live forever.
Always forever. But yeah, these are stuff that you can look forward into getting into. Just go ahead. There should be a link in chat about it, and just geek over all the fantasy winter wonderland concepts. Speaking of that, I hear that there's more things to geek out about, Derek.
Sure. I was really wondering how you were going to go from fantasy wonderland concepts to Marvel is now going to release a Warhammer 40K comic book.
Yeah.
I guess, sure. We'll just make that leap.
No comic.
Yeah, so, Marvel has announced that they're doing another licensed comic book, this time for Warhammer 40K. And, normally, I think a comic book company having another licensed comic, it's one of those, you'll wait and see, or maybe it's a thing you'll get for somebody who really just loves that franchise or whatever. You don't usually have a ton of high expectations for it. But I think this is noteworthy, and we wanted to highlight it because the author working on it is Kieran Gillen. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. And if you don't recognize the name and you've been all reading comics, I guarantee that you recognize some of his work. He is the writer for Wicked and Divine, which is absolutely fantastic, kind of re-examination of mythology and celebrity and divinity and stuff like that. Really, really interesting stuff. They also wrote 3, which anybody remembers is like the short series that was about like the dogs that had cybernetic war implants in them and then escaped.
Yeah.
And it's this very cute little thing of like these murderous war dogs. And also the recent series they've been doing of Die, which if anybody likes kind of like never-ending story or isekai stories of you go into a fantasy world and live, but you wanted something dark and painful and moody, then Die is that. Like it's a gaming group that all got sucked into the GM's world and then went through
RPG. Nice.
Yep. And then went through horrible traumatic experiences before they escaped, and now they have to go back into really, really cool. Like for me,
wow,
really cool stuff.
I was halfway there with the never-ending story, but then the grimdark.
Yep. If you want a grimdark, never-ending story, so
there's no hope in life. Yum.
Anyway, so now somebody who wrote the grimdark, never-ending story is going to be writing for Warhammer 40K, which seems like a perfect match. And if you follow him on Twitter, you know that he actually plays the game. So this just seems like a really nice match of somebody who knows the property, has written some amazing comics, and now gets to work on those comics of that property. So I'm excited to see what they do, even if the cover is those classic and gosh darns Ultramarines. even if the Ultra Bros are on the cover, I'm still intrigued.
All right, that's awesome news to hear. Speaking about, well, not so awesome news at all, because there's still, of course, the pandemic going on. And with the pandemic, there are probably going to be lots of delays going on still. Emma, what news of delays do you have?
Yeah, so I wanted to give some updates on Magic. I'm not going to go too much into the individual delays because it's a lot of paper stuff that's just like, hey, products, they're coming in limited quantities. Most of us aren't really playing paper Magic right now anyways, unless you're doing like my friends Commander over Zoom or whatever.
Really, that's real big.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it works pretty well. You know, you got your cameras face down. So there definitely is that. And there's some very exciting cards for Commander that have come out in the core 2021 set, which just released on Arena yesterday. Very exciting. I've had a little bit of time to play around with that. But it's very cool because it's on Arena now. You can get in there. You can get all the cards. They usually for Arena, they do a sealed for the newest set. So you just get all the packs, but they actually just said, hey, you can draft now too. Usually you have to wait a few weeks for draft, but now you can just, the set is here. You can draft it right away. You can play it in constructed formats online. It's all right there. So it's very exciting if you like new Magic cards and core sets. We've talked about this before on the show. It's also just a really great way to get into Magic. So if you've been away for a while, or if you've never done it before, it's free to download Magic Arena. I would definitely suggest now is a great time to get into it.
I hear it's also coming out for Mac.
Yes, yeah.
At least one of us is very excited now.
Also very exciting news. If you do have a Mac, you will, without having to do some hacky solution to get it to work, it will just work now on Macs. Yeah. So that's very exciting. And Jumpstart 2 is another product we talked about a while back. That's going to be on Arena too. So you're going to be able to take packs and mash them together. They're going to have a whole format for that. So
that was the one that I was most excited about because I feel like it alleviates the big problem that I have of I'm no good at Magic. So I'm not aware of the meta.
Yeah.
So like I don't think I'm particularly good at making a deck, and I don't have a ton of time to experiment and iterate. So like, sure, give me some random cards, and then if I lose, oh, those cards were bad. And then if I win, oh, I'm so smart. So it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, yeah. And just excited. The physical, next year maybe something I would love to get the physical packs and do it. I mean, we might do a pickup order from one of our local game stores, and Phil and I might just play at home. I think that would be super fun as well. But having it on Arena just makes it a lot more accessible, and you can play around with it and get hyped for when the paper products are more widely available. So yeah, that is our Magic news.
Ooh. Very good. Very exciting. Well, if you guys are tired of hearing all of this about fantasy, guess what? We're going to go ahead and dive into the Cyberpunk. Derek?
The Cyberpunk. So yes. A lot of you are probably familiar with Cyberpunk. A lot of you are probably familiar with Cyberpunk 2077 because it's a video game that a lot of people have been talking about for a while. It recently got delayed again. So that's sad news, but I think they've been talking about how just I think having to work from home has required more time for polish. So I hope that they're using that time to not crunch their employees so much when they're at home.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that game when that game comes out.
Several statements saying they're not putting it out until it's done anyway, and they were saying that well before the pandemic began.
Yep. So, we'll get to that game when that game comes out. But in the meantime, I'm very excited because there have been 2 licensing announcements for the Cyberpunk property. The first is a comic book from Dark Horse, which will be very cool. I am always a sucker for Cyberpunk styling. I think they've been doing very good with a lot of the concept art for the video game and whatnot. So we'll see how much that translates to the comic. And if it's Dark Horse, I wouldn't be surprised if they end up putting out like an art of the world of the kind of thing, because they've done that for Mass Effect and Last of Us and a number of other games. But what I'm most excited about is that Cyberpunk is now going to get an anime. There's not a ton of details on it yet, but A, I love anime, and B, this is apparently going to be with Studio Trigger, which produced Kill la Kill. Yep, like that, just a fantastic studio, high quality stuff. They did Kill la Kill, which was amazing. They also did a title that I think Emma and Banzai would really be into called Little Witch Academia.
I already watched it. Yep.
Is it good, Banzai?
Great.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah,
cute. You'd love it.
Yeah, I think I backed the original short on Kickstarter way back when, because I think Studio Trigger then did like a series of it, but it's basically just cute little witches on cute little adventures.
Yep.
And we'll see which end of the spectrum of cute witches on cute adventures or hyper murder time of Kill la Kill that Cyberpunk falls on. They have a wide range there.
Kawaii murder.
There'll probably be plenty of murder, I have a feeling.
I would be happy for both of those, considering that those tend to be the anime that I like the most. The Digi-Carrot and the Murder Fests. So I'm just really excited because the Blade Runner anime, I don't know how many people actually saw it before the recent movie came out, but it was actually really good. It was short, but it was very good, very well animated. It kind of illuminated a neat side bit of the movie that you didn't really need to know to watch the movie. Like, it wasn't essential, so it didn't feel like it was absent from the movie, but it was a neat kind of connecting piece to give a little bit of backstory to stuff. So I'm all for this kind of crossover between Hollywood and Japanese creators.
Yeah, it's very nice. Ooh, speaking about, you mentioned something about cuteness. Emma, you have cutenesses to talk about, right?
I do. WizKids unveils huggable Magic the Gathering Planeswalkers. You can click on the link to see the pictures of them, but I'll go run down real quick what they are. Best Planeswalker, kitty, big old jerk, and also kind of a jerk. So
I think our in our notes for a little while there, for at least 5 minutes, was officially cool lady, butt face, dude man, and kitty, I think.
Yeah, dude man, yeah. For translation, for those of you who aren't up on your Planeswalker-ese, Chandra, obviously best Planeswalker, fire lady with an amazing backstory.
Liliana.
And then the other 3.
I mean, Liliana has grown. Like that video, I watch that like once a week. The video with her fighting against Nicol Bolas, because it's like it touches my heart. She also has a very good backstory, I will say that. Nicol Bolas, obviously dragon villain in the whole series.
Obviously,
big old jerk. He used to. There's a lot of crazy backstory to Magic, but basically he used to be a god. He tried to kill everyone. They made planeswalkers be less of gods, and he wants to go back to being a god, and he'll kill everyone in the universe to make himself have ultimate power. So really, I mean, there's no getting away from that. He's the worst of the worst bad guys.
I love villains with no clear plan.
No, just kill, like, War of the Spark, harvest all the sparks from all of the planeswalkers, killing them, suck in all their energy.
Wait a minute.
Killing everybody because it's easy. I got
you. Are you telling me War of the Spark was Highlander?
Yes. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Ajani is great. Is a Leonin cat person, so that's great to love. Garuk has
Garuk is on fire.
We don't.
Powers,
the world is burning.
But also ate that gingerbread prince in the video, but he was brainwashed, so it's not really his fault, but still kind of a jerk. So yeah, there you have it. You can have those and play pretend with them and hug them and take nickel bullets and throw them out a window or whatever. So yeah, plush planeswalkers.
So the story is there's 4 tiny stuffed animals.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
got it.
Yeah.
Don't hate, just love and embrace.
I'm not hating, I literally understood maybe half of that.
I wouldn't worry too much, Christian. Like, my wife can never remember the Nicol Bolas name, so she's just like, Derek, that Egg Dragon guy, Egg Dragon, what's his name? Egg Dragon came back. So, yeah. You play with what you got.
But I've got is not a full deck.
Oh, yes. Well, from cuteness, let's go into hard, cold robot steel. Derek.
Okay.
Stealing flesh of android.
Well, so we return to a cyberpunk theme again here, because and also maybe a theme of a thing that one of us enjoys that the others maybe don't quite understand why they're so obsessed with it. But Android Netrunner has always been one of my favorite card games. Fantasy Flight did a fantastic job with it, but was ultimately canceled. So Project Nisei is an independent group, like a fan-run kind of company that was put together to bring the game back in a way with new art, new assets. So like it uses the same rules, but it's a new game, so they can kind of continue publishing it. And they've been putting out a couple fan sets here and there, some things that you can kind of print on your own and use. They've been curating like a banned and restricted list and stuff like that to kind of help the game be healthy. But apparently they're going to be coming out with a starter set later this year. And I'm very excited to see what that'll look like. And hopefully it will be very successful. But it does occur to me the irony that we're also covering the story this week because Android Netrunner was the reissue from Fantasy Flight, was the reissue of Netrunner from Wizards of the Coast back in the 90s. And that was a licensed product of Cyberpunk, the RPG, set in the same universe in the initial version. Fantasy Flight changed it to their Android universe.
Yeah.
But I guess really you just can't get away from Cyberpunk this week.
Yes, everything.
This is the year of Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
So what I would say is
the permissions here. Like, how are they able to do that? Like, I've been following this a little bit, but it's still kind of bizarre.
From what I understand, copywriting and retaining control over rules is difficult or impossible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what they have done is they have new card backs, they have new icons for everything, they have new art for everything. It has a new name. So they're basically
what's the new name?
Project Nisei is the company name, and I believe that's the name of the product too. So it's one of those things like this is a new game that is fully compatible with the old game.
So they don't have to pay the creators of the game or anything. That's pretty cool.
Well, they killed the game. The creators, like, I think that some of the creators probably are in this as well. It's like the creators, if no one would publish my game and wouldn't get out and was not going to make any money out of it, then it's like, I still want this thing. There's still a passionate community around this.
There's a
the bad in everything this week.
Well, but like Christian does have a point of like, there's a very gray area there. And like
for games especially has got lots of them.
Yep. And there are certainly some creators who would choose to have their game released without their involvement over no one playing it, but not every creator is going to necessarily want that. So
but this also isn't a game that was, it was originally Richard Garfield was involved with it, right? Like, I don't know.
He was the original designer.
He was the original designer of it. I'm sure he's made very much money off of it. But like, once it becomes to a company like Fantasy Flight, there's a lot of designers who they get paid a salary, right? They're not getting royalties on this game. They get paid a salary. They're working on it just like at any other job. So at this point, I don't think there really is a creator for it who would be getting things. There isn't a designer to it. It's just like hundreds of different people who've worked on the game as their job and gotten paid to do so.
All right. Well, as this comes out, of course, we'll have to figure out, what the problems is or not with it. But that, my friends, was our main headlines of today. And guess what? You know what? let's go ahead and you're in my world now.
I'm so excited.
TableTakes said,
We're looking forward to.
This is what we're doing. So
all the bad news.
We now we're gonna go ahead and go on this different spin on everything. For this is basically you guys have a lot of time on your hands. You can't really go out, but you can't really order. Like, sometimes some people are in a little bit of a budget. You got a little bit, but you still want really cool gaming accessories that you can customize and make yourself. Yes. Well, I have the news for you. All right. So first thing, making your own do-it-yourself like gaming accessories is not as scary as people think it is going to be. And I'm going to give you.
I don't have to lose a finger or have hyper specialized equipment.
Nope. I made these specifically by hand that you can do with very little equipment. I have one that's at a simple level and a medium level that I'm going to go ahead and share with you guys. And one of the first one is, forgive me, because of course it is high quality substance that I use here. So our first example is a simple dice tower. And for those who don't know what dice towers are, they're simply, how if you want to be fancy and truly have randomized nature in your dice rolls, you put your dice in the top, ta-da! It comes out. Yep. And it makes it very satisfying.
Or we've talked.
Banzai, did you make that?
Yes, I did. I made it. I made it myself out of cardboard boxes.
There's a butt on it.
Oh no! Well, there's a flower booty right there.
Yeah, chat was very curious as to whether or not there were butts on these.
Yeah,
there's the flower booties. All the flower booties.
Of course, there's no butts.
Smiley face.
Fruit.
Well, so like another useful thing for dice towers, like we've had Hawk Robinson on other times, and he's mentioned the importance for dice towers for folks who might have mobility or dexterity issues to be able to kind of fully roll stuff. And when I was running games for kids, I found a similar issue. Some kids could not roll the dice off the table.
Yes.
And some kids just weren't very good at rolling, and they just would kind of place dice. And so you'd be surprised at how useful dice towers are for some folks.
Yeah. And then this is also just like, you could also, if you're doing a RPG with kids, this is something that they could do themselves as well. For this particular dice tower build, I would suggest for people to look up Instructables. Has a lot of various different samples. I already went in and put in a link for one that I suggested myself. That's pretty simple. Those measurements are going to be different from the measurements that I use for this, but I have written all of these down so people can see. And
that, everyone.
Yeah. So also, if you guys were wondering about the internal mechanism of these dice towers, it's the inside. So you can add more if you want, but usually 3 is good enough. And how that works is that each area the dice rolls into, boop, 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 ta-da! And it goes through.
This is like my ASMR.
All the ASMR.
I would watch that all day.
So here's my question. Like, for those in your house, for Christian, Derek, and Emma, do you guys have cardboard?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I just look just through my door and see how many Amazon boxes there are that are all piled up and empty. I could make a dice tower large enough for Banzai to get in it and roll through it.
Roll. But yeah, this is something that is simple to make. I used hot glue gun for this part, but as you can see here, I already showed an example of how you could use tape as well if you don't have that. And just like if you have a scissors or a straight edge, that would also help making these measurements. But all you need is a 12-inch ruler, and I put in here a little, like, for the main tower, because I don't know if we want to go through a lot of the numbers, but I written like everything. Oh wait, so that's one. Oh yeah. So like the first main big thing you want is do 9 by 3 inches, or well, actually, you know what? Just go to the Instructables, because I could go through the whole cut list, but then that's going to just go over people's heads. The most important thing is to make enough space for your dice to go in. I made mine a particular about 3 inches. That's enough to hold casino dice. You could make yours thinner based off of your dice size, but usually you don't want to go less than 1.5 inches. And that's just the minimum size.
Well, so I mean, if you don't want to go through the cut list, can you give us a breakdown for like how many parts the dice tower has? Because there's the tower, there's the tray. So
Yes.
was it just kind of two things that you had to assemble and then put into each other? And when you say you have a cut list, like did you have to make 12 cuts, 20 cuts, 100 cuts? Like how many cuts did you have to make? How long did it take?
So this one, just because I'm used to making dice towers, took me no more than 15 minutes to whip together.
So 3 days for me is what you're telling me.
That's what I heard.
I wouldn't say that.
One day for each 5 minutes that it would take Banzai to do literally anything.
All things. It's like I craft or something. But yeah, so it is made of two different components. So you got the main dice tower. So if you don't want to do the dice tray, you could just do the dice tower. And the dice tower is made of 2, 4. Wait, hold on. I'm gonna have to count 2, 4, 6, and then 9 pieces. The dice tower is made up of 9 separate pieces. That's just the back, the sides, the front, and the internal mechanisms here. As you can see right here, this last part is a ramp that points out. So that's when the dice fall. They don't stick into the bottom. That's so the dice can roll out. And that's all like you need. If you can do a simple those little like eyeball stethoscopes,
Periscope.
kind of
Periscopes.
base. Yeah, periscopes. That's kind of
now
what
I want a doctor to just walk up with a periscope and just put it on my chest and be like, breathe.
I mean, yeah, periscope. And then the tray itself is just 5 parts. You got the 4 sides and a bottom.
And you might even have a box like that you can just cut. I mean, not that it looks that hard, but just like have a dice tray, or take the tower if you already have a pre-built dice tray and put it in there.
Yeah, and then this also, if you're diving into Emma's thing, if you're also a game designer and just want to make simple things, boxes are really good things to think about when making and designing like little aspects for your game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you can do so much fun stuff with this, right? You can get some clear plastic and put it on one side. So you can watch the dice roll down. You can put some wrapping paper or some like washi tape would be amazing on this, just to like make some very cool patterns on that.
Well, the thing that occurs to me the most is I know a lot of gamers who have kids who are now stuck at home forever with them.
Yeah.
And kids want to get involved in the things that they see their parents and the adults around them being interested in, but you can't like just take your kids and plop them into your D&D game all the time, depending on how old they are. But stuff like this definitely strikes me as a family project you could do over the weekend or something like that, that allows them to get involved in your hobby, even if you're not sitting them at the table during your normal game.
I think for kids too, making modifications, like employing their creativity, it's like, and making it almost scientific. What if you make a really tall one? What if you make a very skinny one and the dice can't fit in there? So they can kind of learn, to your point, Banzai, the parameters of crafting something like this.
Or take that, get some spray paint, paint it with them.
But yeah, this was just one of the projects I have. The medium project is probably going to be a little bit more high school level, because you do have to use saws or cutters.
We're definitely losing a
saws.
finger.
Yeah.
You're not losing a finger. You don't have to. I've used saws before.
It's a little bit of cuts. And so, Christian, have you ever had problems with really heavy dice on glass tables that are just very sad sometimes?
Yeah, I use a dice tray for it.
And there you go. It's a simple dice tray. You could also, if you don't have MDF or thick material, you could just layer cardboard and get the same kind of results that I have on here. I just use MDF because it was more of like, let's make it a little bit harder for people to build stuff. So this one is like the dice tray or the dice tray for the dice
Banzai,
star.
Before you go too far, why don't you explain what MDF is for someone who is not as crafty as yourself?
Oh, sorry. So MDF is, sorry if I didn't explain. MDF is this material right here. It's essentially all the sawdust, like sawdust for all, when you do lumber, woodworking process. They take it, mix it with a binder or glue, and squeeze the ever-living daylight out of it until it makes a solid form or material. The reason why I suggest MDF if you're new to woodworking is that MDF doesn't have grain. Grain is like basically the lines you see in the wood. It doesn't have knots. It essentially cuts really smoothly. So if you're using a saw, it's easier to cut through, and you don't have to worry about your blade going whoop as much.
It's also like I've used it only very, very briefly in relation to miniature terrain, which I suspect is probably thinner than what you just built here. It's probably much thinner MDF than what you used.
Yes.
But yeah, it was very light. It was very smooth. It was very easy to kind of break pieces off or whatever as needed and sand them down very quickly.
Yeah.
So it's pretty friendly to use for a newbie.
Yeah, that's why I chose this material, because it is very newbie friendly in terms of if you're getting into materials and such. I do suggest please wear a face mask. Multi-dense fiberboard is made from sawdust and has chemical materials in there. And if you're sanding it and or cutting it, your lungs don't like wood particles in it. And yeah, just fun reminder. But yeah, this one, this dice tower is very simple to make. In terms of it is based on an 8x8 area. So I like round numbers. It's easier for people. You can increase this how you see fit. But if you usually work with rounder numbers, it's easier to go through. So like the sides, we have the main two sides that are made with, hold on, let me get the measurements out. An 8 by 1.5 inch, 8 being the length, 1.5 inch being the height. And then based on what thickness you use for your MDF, you base that for your next project being like, so if I use an MDF that's like this one, I used an MDF that's 1/4 inch thick. So we're going to go ahead and add to that 1/4 so we can have the sides completely go over. It's not a fancy joint or anything, joint being how things are put together in woodworking, not the other, in case anybody was wondering.
Yeah, just to clarify, please do not attempt to roll up the MDF and smoke it.
Yes,
just in case that was unclear.
Just in case.
Crossing that off the list.
Yeah.
Things Christian can smoke.
But yeah, so once you have that in there, to make sure that this material stays up top, as you can see, I did a little cutaway cut here. You just cut out a little small, like maybe 1/4 of an inch section on the bottom as a stopper. That is just to brace the bottom, as you see here. A lot of tables and a lot of building projects use this just so it stabilizes it in there and you don't have to do fancy nailing. It's just, hey, you got super glue, you got hot glue, you just glue these on so you don't have to do the chisel work or anything.
You could even use wood glue for that, right?
Yes, you could even use wood glue, but wood glue does take 24 hours to dry. That's why I'm like, hot glue,
it just gives you more time to sing the 24-hour song.
Yeah, 24-hour song. And then, of course, just because wood isn't very nice to roll dice on all the time, I put a little bit of a foam right here, like EVA foam that you can get at craft stores for very cheap, or you can buy on Amazon.
You just glued that down too, right?
Yeah, I just spray glued. I'm just like, or you could get a glue
There's
stick.
spray glue?
There's spray glue. Gorilla spray glue.
My
you gotta
whole
be careful.
World is...
That sounds amazing and dangerous.
Yeah, mind blown.
But yeah, so it's pretty simple. And then with this, you can sand it by hand if you want and paint it and add accessories however you like. It's very simple. This one, I just have it off so you guys can see the internal mechanism of it. And so I know I went very fast through these build projects. I'm like, yeah, just cut it and then stick these things together. But it really, as much as I make a joke about it, it really is for these kind of projects. You could use tape. You can use glue. I don't use any nails on this. I just use glue on here and even hot glue gun. So it's not very intimidating in terms of like, you could even use this with cardboard, the same kind of measurements.
So it's really just, it seems to be about measure and plan ahead a little bit.
Yes.
And then you got to cut. And it seems like those are really the only two complicated things about this, because you measure, plan ahead, cut, and then glue it all together.
Yep. So
it almost feels like if you are one of those people who's been putting together lots of those broken token or other kind of board game inserts, and you want to go to the next level.
But you talk about this on your channel too, right, Banzai?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, just like how like I talk about usually on my channel safety issues with a lot of these things and what materials, and also I just be like, hey, I used to also do a Saturday show where I did really like build trebuchets that kids could learn. I taught kids how to make trebuchets and stuff like that.
But here's the thing: it's like that's actually not surprising to me, because I think in high school physics we spent like a whole month or something like that building trebuchets.
Mm-hmm.
Kids love that.
But yeah, I think my ending note for this, because I don't want to take up too much time, is that like if you're intimidated about making these plans, look up makers, look up Instructables. There are a million different designs out there for people. This is just a simple design. And if you're intimidated to also buy that, you can go to craft stores and buy these shadow boxes and do the exact same thing. This is just steps on how to make essentially a shadow box. And all you need to do is buy the felt for the inside or the foam for the inside, and there you go. So there's a lot of,
I think what I would also say too is that if you are interested in this but intimidated by it, my advice actually is to do it with somebody. Even if you're doing it over Zoom, like both of you go buy the equipment and materials and come back.
Oh, yeah.
Doing something with somebody else where both of you can just be like, is this what I'm supposed to do? Having somebody else there to be like, yeah, totally. Even if they don't know what they're doing either, makes it a lot easier to jump into stuff like that.
And it's fun. Just,
Well,
go ahead,
Banzai.
sorry.
The last most important Banzai question you have not addressed yet.
Yes.
How would you rate the weapon use of each of these products?
So this one, actually, this one has, I didn't round off the corners. It is very much weapon use. It has a little heft. It's at least 2 pounds of blunt damage. Of course, if you add the corners, there's a little bit of piercing damage, depending on if you aim for the eyes. I would say, though, unfortunately, this dice tower is not very weaponizable unless you light it on fire and then toss it at somebody.
You could make it of wood also, though, right?
Yes, it could be made of wood. Remember, corners.
And then the sky's the limit. Or you
remember
cardboard and make sure the edges are real sharp. And
I can't wait for Banzai to make one of these out of metal or something like that.
I made this
it would be
completely out of razor blades.
Razor blades, metal. Also, plexiglass is also very strong too. You could do that. Just saying. And then, I mean, if you get enough dense cardboard into an area, you could make a pretty good bat out of dense cardboard. Just saying. Not condoning violence, but weapons can be made.
I'm beginning to doubt your real expertise with weapons. If you were like, yes, cardboard can be turned into a weapon if you make it dense enough.
You can. If you're not furniture made out of cardboard.
Yeah, anything can be a weapon if you try hard.
That's a couch. That's not a bat. Try swinging a couch made of cardboard and see what it does.
It does what cardboard does.
Yep.
But
anyway,
I hope that inspired people to create, and maybe even you guys could be making stuff. Your homework today is to make a dice tower. Next week, want to see dice towers.
Okay.
All right.
I was just gonna tell my nephew to make a dice tower. I'd be like,
there, you could just be like, yeah, this is the dice tower, totally made.
with my own 2 hands.
But yes, so enough rambling about that. I know what people are really in here for. They're ready for the bundle boss. Tell us, how do we save money today?
Oh, so many ways to save money today, but also give out to good causes. We're all about good causes, after all. So back in September, a game designer named Rick Loomis passed away, and Bundle of Holding did a special on one of the games he was involved with called Tunnels and Trolls. Have you not heard of this game?
I have not heard of this game.
I've heard of it briefly, but like...
It came out in 1975. It is a tabletop role-playing fantasy game. It's 45 years old.
Wow.
Still haven't heard of it. Tunnels and Trolls, TNT. You don't know about it?
It's very dynamite.
Yep, that one.
Yep. this game has been around for 45 years and it's still going strong. It's in its umpteenth edition, essentially, but they haven't changed the rules at all. It is the same as it was when you played it in 1975. We talk a lot about Kickstarters for OSR, which is that old school revival type game. This is that old school game.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of ways, this is that old school game. It's changed very little since it first came out, and it's still, I mean, it's got tons and tons and tons of supplements. This week's bundle of holding is, in fact, is the Tunnels and Trolls giant set of Doom. That's not its official name. That's just what I'm calling it. One of the things that's really cool about the Solitaire collection that you get at the $10 range is that it comes with like a quick start adventurers guide, but it also comes with a whole bunch of solo dungeons where you actually play completely by yourself.
Wow.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
That's
so I mean,
cool.
in this time of pandemic, it's kind of a neat thing. Also comes with a couple other supplement books. The larger version, the deluxe one, comes with the deluxe Tunnels and Trolls handbook, which is a giant, full color, beautiful, fun looking book. Like a monsters manual, all the things you would expect to find in a basic role playing set, plus adventures compendium and a bunch of modules. So it's got some good stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's my bundle. That is bundles. And of course, all of this goes to, well, excuse me, 10% of the payment after the gateway fee will be donated to the pandemic-related charity Direct Relief.
All right. Awesome. How else can we save money, though?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because this is not technically a bundle, but it is a sale, and I do like to talk about the cool stuff that Steam is having its summer sale. Steam summer sale. That's a lot of S's. I like it. Steam summer sale is happening right now. It runs through July 9th. Mixed in with all the video games on sale are a bunch of digital board games, including Tabletop Simulator, which is half off right now. Pick it up while you can, at least. They might run out of keys again. Anything could happen. Size is 50% off. Sentinels of the Multiverse is 90% off. Terraforming Mars is 50% off. Ticket to Ride is 60% off. You know these games. You probably like these games. Might as well have a digital version anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
I especially speak to Tabletop Simulator. That's what we're using mostly for our board game design digital meetups right now. So
if
just
you don't
having that.
if you don't own Tabletop Simulator already, I highly suggest you get it.
Oh,
yeah, it's worth grabbing.
There's so much fun stuff in there. I played the old school game Labyrinth where you push the tiles and the tiles fall off the edge. And it was really well done. There's so many things in there that are just, and it's gotten to the point, even some of the stuff in there is like a video game where it has like a dealer that deals you cards. Yeah, just worth checking out.
Yeah. Even all the modifications too. But thank you, Christian, for telling us the sales and bundles. Now it is time to feed our addiction to Kickstarter with the Kickstarter.
The microphone could not handle that.
Dang it!
It's fine.
Gotta go low.
Either that or you're going through puberty and your voice cracked real hard there. One of those two.
No.
So we're going to go through some Kickstarters pretty quickly. We're running a little bit late and we have some other streams that we want to get to later. But first, Emma, do you want to tell us about an exciting new role-playing game?
Yeah, Alice is Missing, a silent role-playing game. 3 days left, ending Monday, June 29th. This is an immersive RPG played entirely via text message. This is very exciting to me because right now, anything that you can do without having to be in person, this is one that would be kind of weird playing in person because it is, again, all in text. I've played a couple of games in this sphere. I played Longtime Listener, Last Time Caller, which was a game we played on Discord where you're calling into a radio show. Also played This Discord Has Ghosts, where you're just going into the different rooms and typing stuff. So I'm very much excited about this new genre world of games that you play with different technologies. Basically, there's character Alice. Alice has gone missing. You're making your characters and your relationships, and then you're playing kind of as if you would, especially in this day and age, you're just texting and trying to figure things out. So definitely worth checking it out if you want to have some cutting edge role-playing game experiences.
Nice. Yeah. I'm always a little hesitant about tabletop role-playing games that require a data plan that requires a middle-class person to afford, but it looks like fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's other ways that text with like Google Voice and things, so you can definitely find a platform.
Which requires an internet connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, right. It's going to be tough playing any sort of game that you're connecting with people without a data connection.
Yeah.
I am interested of I love seeing these games where new technology comes out or it gets accepted or just becomes commonplace, and then incorporating that into games. So that it's not just here's the book, here's the dice, sit down at the table, do the typical kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that has 3 days left. So that ends on Monday, June 29th.
Yeah.
Christian,
yes.
Why don't you tell me about Beowulf, Age of Heroes?
So yeah, when I was looking through the proposed Kickstarters for the week, this one grabbed my eye. Again, this is kind of a cool idea. It's got 4 days left. P.S. It's Beowulf, Age of Heroes is a 5th edition D&D setting designed for 1 player and 1 GM. And
that's what grabbed my attention too. Yeah,
that's exactly what grabbed my attention. I'm like, there's so many more opportunities to play with just one person and not have to gather your 4 unreliable friends to your table every week, especially when you can't have them all in your house right now. This is something you can play at home with your significant other or the one person that you allow into your home, like your dog. But yeah, it's designed primarily for duet play. It can be played with more characters, obviously. But it's very... It's very, very mythic in scope. You're playing a larger-than-life hero. There's a new hero class, a bunch of subclasses that are based on attributes as opposed to like class-specific stuff. And you walk around with your band of companions that are NPCs that are it's your crew. You're walking around, 6 deep, Beowulf with his crew, and laying it down on the Balrog.
Yeah, I mean, I'm intrigued at the idea of adapting 5th edition to one-on-one play, just because I think they're
doing this by kind of raising that character to an almost demigod level of of heroic fantasy,
which totally fits the Beowulf. Yeah,
Beowulf. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just very excited about doing that because I think a lot of people underestimate the value of really small group RPGs. Especially when going online, I think a lot of us like to play games of D&D with maybe 6 players because we all just want to hang out with each other kind of thing. But when you take things online, I've definitely found that the more the game is story focused, or if it's online, the more it benefits from fewer players in a lot of cases.
For sure.
That is 100% true in my experience.
So I would love to see a lot of people who are comfortable with D&D, want to play D&D, discover a new way to play it one-on-one.
Plus, I mean, the one-on-one storytelling experience can be very, very rewarding because as a player, your character is the most important one there. Your PC is the only PC. So you don't have to worry about 5 people arguing over whether or not to follow a particular adventure hook.
Yeah.
So that has 4 days left, ending Tuesday, June 30th.
Correct.
Also ending that same day, Christian, why don't you tell us about the Savage Sign?
I don't know why you're having me talk about the Savage Sign. Oh, wait,
seems weird.
My name is on it. And second of all is Savage Worlds, which, as I have stated multiple times, is my favorite game system.
Really?
I know. This is hard for you to believe, Banzai, but trust me. It super, super is. So what this is basically a gazetteer magazine type thing with a whole bunch of Savage World stuff in it. Licensed Savage World stuff. New creatures, new stories, different settings, different, all sorts of cool stuff. There's one that's based on 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which is something I've always wanted to play as a role-playing game for no good reason at all. Because the idea of being underwater for that long is really scary to me. I don't want to get into it, though. There's a great big island adventure with, jungles and volcanoes, werewolves and vampires. There's a bunch of stuff with robots and mechs. And yeah, it looks pretty cool for how small it is. It has a lot of stuff in it. And if you're a Savage Worlds fan, it might be worth picking up just for the extra stuff that you wouldn't normally see in the books.
Awesome.
There you go.
Very cool.
So 4 days left on that one, with 5 days left, ending on Wednesday, July 1st, which is like, oh my God, time goes so fast, is Fantastic Layers, Boss Battles, and Final Encounters for 5th edition. And this is just something I really want people to check out. If you're running D&D 5th edition, you deserve it to go look at any project that Sly Flourish is pushing or is working on.
It has good taste.
Yeah, well, so like this is his project. These are the layers that he's designed to help make that climax or that final encounter in your D&D game epic at whatever your level you're playing at.
Yeah, I didn't even see that it was Sly Flourish. Get it?
Yep, like that's absolutely why I picked it.
You'll get it.
And like, so he had done fantastic locations. He'd done the Ruins of Grindelroot, like a couple other projects that we've talked about, and just really, really fantastic stuff. So if you run D&D, you check this out, consider backing it, because it's going to give you a bunch of tools that should be almost just ready to throw on your table and ready to go. And they're all going to be like top-notch kind of stuff. With 6 days left, ending Thursday, July 2nd, is Cult Divinity Lost. And this is specifically a project for the horror guide and a couple scenario collections they're doing. And like Cult, I think we may have talked about a little bit. This is going to be a very dark horror, mean RPG. Like, this is kind of almost in the same realm of Cthulhu mythos stuff, but I like that it's a counterpoint to that, where the mythos, the horror is the world doesn't care about you. You are insignificant. You are worthless and meaningless. Cult, however, is reality, and everything in it is specifically a prison that is designed to trap you and prevent you from realizing that you're supposed to be divine. You're supposed to be greater than you are. So everything is basically out to get you. It is designed to deceive you. And these, it's definitely one of those RPGs from the 90s that is about as edgy as you're going to let it get, basically. So it's not going to be for everybody. But if you like horror gaming, or you want a twist on like a cosmic horror that doesn't follow the Lovecraft route, I strongly recommend checking it out. I think it's gorgeous. The new edition uses a variation of Powered by the Apocalypse. There's a lot of really interesting stuff going on in there. This project specifically has basically a bunch of GM tools, another scenario book, and then there is the Forbidden scenario book, which apparently is going to include a bunch of adventures that the publishers are never going to put in retail because they're too infamous. Like there's a lot of, again, it's a very edgy game, but there's a lot of really, really neat stuff there. If you like messing around with horror games, I absolutely recommend checking it out. Okay. So that is 6 days left. 6 days left.
All right, up next we have Terraforming Mars Big Box, and 3D tiles. So if you haven't heard about Terraforming Mars yet, I'm very surprised, because this game has been very popular now for a couple of years. You're on Mars, you're putting down plants and getting cards. There's a hand management aspect to it, and you're tweaking the environment, the temperature of Mars. It's a very good strategy game. And now you have another option to get some more cool stuff for it. This package, 7 days left, ending Friday, July 3rd, is great for if you're just getting into the game, because you have some options for that. And if you love this game, there's a big box version that's going to get you a lot of new stuff. So great for newcomers, great for people who love the game. Definitely check that out. Next up, we have The Hike That Binds Us, which is an RPG. This one, it has a cute idea behind it, a role-playing game where you're going on a hike and there's a survival aspect to it, and a lot of the assets really lean into that hiking aesthetic.
It looks like a hiking journal that you would have, or like, you'd be planning a camping trip journal kind of thing.
Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly how it places hiking and survival. So there's something maybe like Hatchet along those lines. You can get into these very survival adventures there. So just a small role-playing game, but definitely worth checking out if you like those weirder RPGs. Last but certainly not least is The Dead Eye, which Escape a Perilous Planet, a solo card game adventure. The cool thing about this is it has 3D glasses. So it's in stereoscopic 3D, and it actually has the red-blue glasses that you can put on. Fast-paced, you're optimizing your deck, but really it's all about the glasses. So go and check that out if you want a trip back to the 80s or 90s.
You can play a game and ruin your vision at the same time.
Yeah, if you like playing around with these, just like the cool visual effect. They made a fun twist on this. That's ending Friday, July 3rd. So I think it's super cool. You should check out the images and graphics for that, because it looks like they got some fun stuff going on.
Very, very nice. Well, friends, that was, of course, our Kickstarters for the evening. Thank you all for hanging out with us. But wait, don't leave, because we got a show right after this. Streamers inflow, because of course Gen Con is going to be digital this year, because we're getting digital. And we're going to go ahead and drop some information on how you can set up your Gen Con experience, your digital Gen Con experience. Today, we're going to be talking about D20 Pro and Board Game Arena. Yeah, that's going to be just pretty much like 10 minutes after we're done. So let me go ahead, and we're not just Table Takes here on Gen Con TV. We also have Monday, 6 p.m. Board Games with the Brothers Mirth. Wednesday is a whole full lineup. 11 a.m. This Game Gets Dicey. 4 p.m. Fireside with Peter Atkinson, which is basically the behind the scenes of course, D&D and a lot of the tabletop games that you love, just getting that little behind the scenes look. 5:30 is Fantasy Grounds, which is a RPG. Right? If I remember, Fantasy Grounds.
Fantasy Grounds is a platform to run. It's like a virtual tabletop. You can run maps for different RPGs and stuff like that through it.
It's a really fun nightmare.
And then, of course, on Fridays we have 2 p.m. with Table Takes, and then 3:30 is Astral.
It's another info stream. Another one of the virtual tabletop ones.
Very nice. And then 5 p.m. Tabletopia. Don't forget, my friends, if you like what you see here, don't forget to like and subscribe. Click that heart. Share it. Turn on your notifications. Retweet when we go live on Twitter. And thank you guys so much for being here, Emma, Derek, Christian. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and hopefully it will get better. Hopefully.
Thank you.
You guys have a lovely day.